Now we continue with part 2 of Kittu's presentation to us on the human cycle. And we just ended with that wonderful comment of Sri Aurobindo about divine grace.
Usually, and this is mother's instructions, I never prepare before coming. I mean, I know the book reasonably well, as far as a human being can understand. And mother told me once in class that she gave a sentence which is very interesting. La vie de chaque jour est la meilleure des écoles. That means the life of everyday life is the best of schools. So when you go to a class prepared, and I'm going to tell them this, they will ask you questions as to what happened yesterday. You must explain that in the light of that knowledge, whatever it is. So la vie de chaque jour, the life of every day, is the best of schools. So when you prepare, you have prepared something which is, it becomes artificial. When you come and speak spontaneously, I didn't know what I would speak even. I just said, look, I know that I will.
It is the same for me.
What?
It is the same for me. I don't prepare.
Should not prepare. No, if you don't know the subject, you have to prepare.
Sure.
But once you are familiar with the subject, let it come from within. And of course, you must have a certain control over your consciousness.
Yes.
If there is bitterness, anger, hostility, and if you are spontaneous, you will bring all that out. So you must clean that up sufficiently to not allow it to come to the surface. To completely disappear is a transformation. That is not very easy, but...
So now we are on these points of Lambrecht.
What?
The points of Lambrecht.
5, symbolic.
5, right.
Typal, conventional,
Right.
individualistic or rational, and subjective. You are very subjective. You feel the presence of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. If I challenge you, show me. And you can't show me, right? But it is there, and it is real.
Yes.
So subjective approach means that contact with the inner world, real, right? And when I say inner world, I don't mean only spiritual. Even vital world. Falling in love with somebody on the vital plane. I am not speaking of the gross physical plane. It's a very strong subjective element. And when you love someone, forget divine love. If that person is suffering, you can be 1 mile away and yet you know that that person is suffering. Because there is an identity of consciousness. Right? Similarly on the mental plane. Similarly on the spiritual plane. Therefore, very practical, if you identify your consciousness with somebody like Sri Aurobindo, on all the planes he'll be working on you. If I identify myself with a great intellectual, I will be only on the intellectual plane. Vital will not be touched. Spiritual will not be open. So Sri Aurobindo being integral, Mother being integral, identify your consciousness with them at any level and it will slowly have its impact on other levels. So this is the subjective stage. This is the process of yoga. Whole yoga is turn your whole consciousness towards the Mother and she will impregnate her consciousness through that little opening that you have given her into every part of the being. Very resistant, Slowly, 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 she will touch. And in the chapter on education, this is the main thing. In a very simple way, she has put. When your vital is unruly and doing all kinds of nonsensical desires and all that, don't fight it. Treat it like a bad child, difficult child. Gentle, patient, explain. Right? I tell you, there is no other way. If you fight, either you will suppress or you will be violent.
So now back to these 5 points.
Yeah.
You were at, of course, reason.
The fourth stage is reason, intellectual,
And then subjective.
and then subjective. Then, in a typical Sri Aurobindonian fashion, this is very unique about Sri Aurobindo. He gives you the ideal society, the values that the ideal society will have, which is a distant dream, but you must know where you are going, where you want to go. So he gives you the exact word chapter, the ideal society, something like that. Then a very interesting phenomenon takes place. He says that society is after all made up of individuals. And the nature of the individual determines the nature of the society. If you take a large number. So instead of trying to understand society first, let us take the individual, since they are almost identical, they're parallel, right? And then let us see. So the next 10 chapters are purely the individual. Very important chapters, because it is much easier for every one of us to work upon ourselves. So there he discusses the meaning of barbarism. Who is a barbarian? Everybody has got his own definition. Sri Aurobindo has given us a wonderful definition. When is a society civilized? When does an individual become civilized? And culture. There are 3 distinct stages: barbarism, civilization, and culture. Again, they are not watertight. They flow into each other. In a sense, most human beings have an element of barbarianism in them, are generally civilized in modern world, and not too many are cultured. So he will define civilization, he will define culture. And his definition is so vast and encompassing. Then he breaks up because there is aesthetic culture, there is ethical culture. They're all different, no? So there are many aesthetic people, very beautiful music or acting or anything, right? Very crude nature, right? There are many people who have got a very fine ethical character, no sense of beauty, right? So he analyzes all these, the ethical, the aesthetic, and in order to harmonize the ethical and the aesthetic, you need some other principle. It might be a little higher. So that is the intellectual. So you see, this is exactly what the man who is showing films in the ashram is doing. He said this film is aesthetic, it's beautiful. But ethically, it is not good for the children to see this. So then he has to decide. What decides? It is his intellect.
Yeah.
He will weigh the pros and cons, right? Correct? So this is the work that Pranabda had to do. That's a beautiful film. Pranabda said no. He said the children will be affected by it. I can't eliminate the children from seeing the film. was in ashram, all sit together. Mother saw a film on Chopin. Wilfie came out in tears. Mother did not allow it to be shown. She said it's a beautiful film. Very strong vital impact. Children will be depressed. Exact words I am not saying. So you see, then he takes up the reason. The reason as governor of life. Do you govern your life by reason and only reason? Or are there many other elements that come in? So one is reason as governor of life. To govern life by reason is a very big step forward. In Mother's austerities, 4 austerities and 4 liberations, she stresses on this. You must govern your life by reason. You must eat rationally. Go to a nutritionist. Find out what is good for you. And no deviation. Exercise. Everything. It's a big step forward. Then the next chapter, typical, the office and limitations of the reason. So it does its function, but also these are the areas where it cannot. So then you need another instrument. So the natural human mind will say it's religion. It is the higher instrument. So there is a whole chapter on reason and religion. How religion goes wrong. And then reason has a place. When religion is right, then reason has to shut up. Right? So he moves on to that. Then he goes on to office and limitation of reason. Then this is what he's showing is through the aesthetic being, you will pass through 3 stages. Infrarational aesthetics. Your guts are inspired. Let us say rock and roll, or at least some type of rock and roll. Another music which is, or poetry also, which is very rational. Good, but true poetry is, right? So he puts some of the English poets as rational, very good, very correct, but not inspiring. Others who come from a higher source, and of course Shiva Bindu from the highest source. Aesthetics is like that, intrarational, rational, suprarational. Ethics is infrarational, rational, suprarational. I like you because you are good to me. I like you because you have a standard. I have a standard of judgment. I like you because I can see your soul. Right? So you look carefully. All of us are in our likes and dislikes. Are we rational, suprarational, or intrarational? So the rational being also is infrarational, rational, suprarational. Right? A religion also is infrarational, rational, suprarational. And life also. You think life is always, normally life is more infrarational than rational. But then when you evolve, you try to govern your life by reason, which is a very good step. But ultimately you will find that you have to govern your life by the soul. So all the different parts of our being, rational, aesthetic, ethical, religious and life, aiming towards the divine, but going through these 3 stages. Inspired action in politics, that is suprarational. Shiva Bindu is the perfect example. Most politicians are infrarational, purely based on self-interest. Many are quite rational, that it is against my self-interest, but it is good for the country. So he does all that. Then he takes up one chapter which is very interesting. He calls it, since the rational is not the highest, surely religion can be. So he analyzes that. And then he shows that religion also has got these 3 stages. But true religion is spirituality. So don't give up religion. Don't look down on religion. You can correct infrarational religion. But if you take that arrogant attitude, why do you have to go to Samadhi? Why do you have to go to a temple? Why do you have to go to a church? They feel something. No, don't come in the way. Raise up the whole thing. So true religion becomes spirituality. So once he has done that, then he goes back to society. Infrarational society, rational society, and suprarational society. Generally, society is intrarational. But today, when the government passes any law, it has to be rational and it has to be explained to the people by the power of reason. Whole world today is like that. So we have moved into the rational age. Of course, there is misuse of reason, all that is there. But to move to that higher stage where you are inspired by the divine, very difficult. And in politics, you cannot convince people because they are at a lower stage. This is the whole problem with Sri Aurobindo. Nobody gives him any importance. Even in the freedom movement, forget his yoga. Right? Because he spoke of Mother India. Mother as Durga, India as Durga. This is anti-secular, rational. Correct? So you take any history book, 4 lines on Sri Aurobindo. Gandhi, this, that, right? Only R.C. Majumdar has written one own volume on Sri Aurobindo because he understood that subjective approach. So there is an infrarational stage, there is a rational stage. There will hopefully come one day the suprarational stage of society. Right? And this is the problem which affects the ashram. The ashram is a collectivity. When the mother was there, or Sri Aurobindo was there, generally mother took all the decisions. She referred to Sri Aurobindo, but ultimately she took the decisions. She took it from the suprarational plane. She could tell you, you don't need a shirt. He needs a shirt. He can be given a shirt. After 1 month, she will say something else. If I do that, I will be hammered. If the trustees do that, they will be hammered. Is it possible that the trustee, a trustee, I am not meaning anybody individually, including me, if I was a trustee, can I act in collective life from the spiritual plane and impose my decision on the collectivity?
No.
Not yet.
No.
If the trustee becomes an incarnation of the mother or a reflection of the mother and everybody accepts, the problem is solved. That means mother has come back again. Until then, the only instrument that you have got is reason. This is the biggest problem. Admission to school. Why I have applied for 12 years, I have not got it. This person has applied 1 year, straight away has got it. Joining the ashram. Very difficult decisions.
Yes.
I am not criticizing them,
Yes.
but I don't know what I would have done. And that is because I do not have that constant contact with the higher force, and you do not recognize even if I have it.
Now, Sri Aurobindo obviously saw everything in World War I. He saw Hitler come to power
In World War II.
in World War II, and what the effect of the individual on the mass.
What is your question?
The effect of one individual
Yes.
on
In
the
Germany.
collective mass in Germany.
In the German collectivity
Yes.
and partly the Italian collectivity.
Yes.
And the Japanese, well, they had their own. No, so what is your question?
The response of the collective, of the mass,
Yes, but
to a leader,
Hitler is a force.
a force. Yes.
The body is Hitler. Behind him there was a force, a very powerful force. And Germany, after some hesitation, ultimately accepted that force. There could be many reasons. One, Schaubinde himself has explained, the Germans are, compared to the rest of the European world, much more subjective. They open to philosophy, they open to... See, those who are open to music and philosophy
Yes.
are deeply subjective. Deeply, or they are subjective at least. So the Germans were subjective. One. Here was a subjective force. He was a cobbler, no? But whole mass was with him. The second reason was, according to Churchill himself, the complete miscalculation of the Allies. See, he was an autocrat, he was always trying to dominate India, etc., but he knew in the back of his mind. So in 1918, after the war was over, in 1919, at the Treaty of Versailles, the Germans were punished for trying to be imperial. I mean, how can the English punish somebody for being imperial when they have the biggest empire in the world? So Churchill said, don't punish them. Very mild. Now, when you punish a nation, a proud nation, which has produced the greatest musicians, the greatest philosophers, the greatest thinkers in the last 100 years, Beethoven, Mozart, name what you like, Goethe, greatest technicians, you think they will take it lying down? They were waiting for their chance. We have been unjustly treated. England is as imperial as we are. We have lost, so we are now being punished. It is on this that Hitler played. And the punishment was severe. Their army was disbanded. Very important territories were handed over to France. Right? So, when you handle a proud man, if you defeat him, be friendly. Don't punch. Because both of you are in the wrong. England is as imperial. In fact, most of the Western nations were very imperial. Right? So, Hitler played on that sentiment and he got the whole nation to come to his side. Which, in the Nuremberg trials, all those top leaders have admitted that they went wrong, but they had no choice. They played on that emotion. If England had been fair, generous, things might not have been so bad.
What are the next chapters in the human cycle?
No, then afterward there are 4 chapters on the spiritual age. 4 chapters, which are very futuristic. I mean, the spiritual aid in society, it will take centuries, if not millenniums. Individuals, I'll ask you a point blank question. Do you think that the ashram can be termed as a spiritual society, governed by spirituality?
No.
Its aim is spirituality.
Yes.
Perfect. Lions Club aim is something else. Rotary Club is something else. The ashram's aim is spiritual. When the mother and Shravinda were there, they brought a fair amount of it into the life of the community. But today it is not possible. Because for that, I'm not blaming anybody. If I was a trustee, if I was the managing trustee, I have to be at that level. And you have to trust that I am at that level. You say he's a fraud, pretending. It's finished. I hear these words almost every day. When they don't like what a trustee has done, they just say he's a fraud, he's a liar.
Can you speak a bit about the spiritual age from Sri Aurobindo?
Spiritual age, there are 4 chapters. First, he says that spiritual age cannot come unless the individual aims at being spiritual and starts moving in that direction. Until then, you can forget it. Then he says, the chapter is called The Necessity of Spiritual Transformation. See the word transformation. Right? The whole life has to be changed. Then the conditions for the coming of the spiritual age. The conditions are 2. There has to be an individual or individuals in the society who have realized in themselves all that they are expecting others to do. We are lucky. Sri Aurobindo and Mother.
Yes.
And then there must be a collectivity which aspires totally towards that. All that I can say is that we are trying. I will not say it is a failure.
No.
But I will not say it is a success. We are struggling. Each one individually. Right? So these 2 necessities have to be fulfilled. But there are very positive signs. When someone close to me dies, passes away, I've heard this. See, I can give word lectures, but I've heard this from people who have gone through this. And they were broken down completely. They went to Sri Aurobindo's room or meditation hall. They felt clearly that he is in the lap of the mother. So much comfort, so much happiness. This is a clear sign of spiritual opening. A rationalist will say all this is rubbish. His body has been burned, dead, thrown into the sea, forget it. Here they feel. And when I say they feel, I can see their face, they have changed. They don't cry anymore. And the little element of sorrow is always there. Now this is a very clear indication of spirituality.
The third point.
What?
The third point that
No,
Sri
one is
Aurobindo.
that the individual or individuals must be there who have. See, you have got somebody to look up to.
Right.
Outside, you have nobody to look up to. You can say, hi, he's a good man. But here you can say, oh my God, Sri Aurobindo, absolute. Second is that a group that is ready to accept these ideas. So 2 points mainly. And when this happens, and many such groups are formed, right, then there is the possibility of a general spiritual awakening. That is why Sri Aurobindo Ashram and all the centers connected with Sri Aurobindo Ashram, if they can vibrate, right, then you are creating the foundation of a spiritual society. Yesterday I was talking to a Bengali gentleman. You might be knowing him, Shubhrata Sen. Anyway, he is a little critical by nature. He says, you go to the centers in Calcutta, machines, nothing happens. And they'll call Karan Singh one day, they'll call this Singh one day, and they'll call the governor who knows nothing about Sri Aurobindo, who will give a talk, they'll call the Chief Justice, who will give a talk, and then good samosa and all that, finished. So he says, I'm trying my best to set up centers all over Bengal, no response at all. It is true, Bengal is dead. But Gujarat is throbbing.
Orissa?
Orissa is throbbing, but they have not developed their mind. It's all devotion, which is good. They have understood, they are trying to correct it. I've got many Oriya friends. So they're old, 80 years old, but they have realized that mere devotion without knowledge is not enough. Orissa is, see, they have got 1,700 schools, Sri Aurobindo schools. The only difference is there is a photo of the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and at the beginning there is a kind of ritualistic meditation.
You mentioned Punjab.
Punjab, I don't know much,
No.
but Gujarat definitely.
Auroville?
I am not in contact, but with the reports that I get from people whom I respect a lot, it's very, very mixed. There is a core which is wonderful. From what I have heard and from what I know of that person, Shraddhavan belongs to that core. But then there are many others. There is one student of mine who goes to Auroville every day, takes classes there. Very mixed. In fact, many Aurovillians don't know why they have come here. They have heard hardly anything about Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So it's very mixed. But it is a very bold attempt. Right. It needs enormous courage to create a society where no money will be there, etc., etc. You have to be a little mad, like Mother and Sri Aurobindo were, to imagine and dream these things.
Yes.
You see, when Mother started Auroville, you should have seen the Blitz. It's a newspaper. They tore it to pieces. And then ultimately the mother also. Living in foolish dreams.
I didn't know this.
There was a journal called Blitz, Bombay. It is a sensational newspaper, but very popular because it is sensational. They tore Auroville to bits. So when Huta asked Mother, any chance? Mother said, you see, it's a dream that is bound to be realized, if not now, in 100 years. And it is only these mad people called dreamers who create the new world. Leonardo was mad. He dreamt of an aeroplane. His experiments all ended in failure. But today, so the ashram is meant to dream and try to implement those dreams. That's why I like Pranabda's answer when they asked him, dream, I accept entirely everything that Mother has said. Success, ultimate. Where are you? Trying. Trying very hard, but nowhere near the.
Well, thank you, Kittu. Can we have one day or two on the ideal of human unity?
No, I have not finished the human cycle.
No, after you finish human. After you finish human
Yes,
cycle.
yes.
Good, good.